I was up on my roof that morning, 12 feet off the ground, trying to loosen a rusted bolt from the weather vane my grandfather installed back in '86. A solid brass eagle, wings spread wide, catching the breeze like it was still proud to stand guard over this little lakeside cottage. I'd climbed up there with nothing but a wrench, a cup of coffee, and the hope for a quiet Saturday. What I got was something else entirely. Name's Harold Monroe. I'm 68. Spent 30 years at North Star Aerospace. Retired as lead systems engineer. Bought this cabin back when lakefront property was just that: water, trees, and peace. Built most of it with my own hands. It's modest compared to the glass mansions sprouting up around here, but it's mine. Every nail in those beams has a memory in it. So I'm up there, tightening the pivot of the eagle, when I hear it. That voice. Sharp, nasal, and packed with judgment. "Hey, what do you think you're doing up there?" I peeked down from the ladder, and sure enough, there she was, Paige Cranston, president of the HOA, dressed in a tracksuit so white it practically glowed. Blonde bun, clipboard under one arm, and a look that said she already made up her mind about who I was. Now, I've dealt with my fair share of neighborhood politics, but Paige, she was something else. The kind of woman who put out newsletters about mailbox colors. The kind who walked her toy poodle like she was guarding the perimeter of a military base. "Just maintenance," I called down, "fixing my weather vane." She stepped closer, just enough to make it clear I was being inspected. "Do you have a permit for that?" Permit for fixing a piece of metal on a roof I've owned longer than she's probably been alive? "I don't need one," I said, as polite as I could manage. "This is my property. Been here since '89. "Well," she huffed, "we've had a rash of unauthorized maintenance lately. I'm going to need to see identification, and proof of ownership wouldn't hurt either." I blanked, just stood there for a second with the wrench in one hand and a thought in my head I didn't say out loud. Then I started my slow climb down. At my age, you learn not to rush around people like Paige. You move calm. You speak calm. Because it's never just about what you're doing. It's about who they've decided you are. I set the wrench in my toolbox, pulled my wallet from my back pocket, and handed her my driver's license. She looked at it like I'd just handed her a forged passport. Flipped it back and forth, double-checked the address, which clearly matched the numbers right there on the mailbox, and then gave me this half smile. Cold. Calculated. "This looks legitimate," she said finally, as if it disappointed her. Then she let it drop, right there on the ground. "Oops," she said, smirking. "Butterfingers. I get nervous around people with tools." I just looked at her for a second, then bent down to pick it up. I didn't say a word, but that silence? That's the moment everything changed. Because what Paige didn't know, what I didn't even know, was that my son Elijah was watching the whole thing from his office tower 1,200 miles away. 34 floors up in downtown Chicago, watching on a private security feed I didn't even he had installed. Now let me tell you about my son. Elijah Monroe isn't just a proud son. He's the lead architect of a little project called Horizon Vista. Maybe you've heard of it. $5 billion lakefront development with condos, a marina, a golf course, and plans to reshape this entire part of the state. And the linchpin of the whole thing? The one piece of property that had to be part of the plan: my cottage. He'd been building this vision for 5 years. He'd already mapped out every path, every zoning detail, every environmental check. But what Paige had just done, what she did so casually, was humiliate the man who raised him. The same man who'd worked overtime shifts, skipped promotions, and poured every dime into Elijah's dream of becoming an architect. She dropped that license, but what she really dropped was a billion-dollar bomb on her own life. Because you see, Paige's husband, Ron Cranston, just so happened to own a construction firm, Cranston & Co., big players around here. Been trying like hell to land the general contractor bid for the Horizon Vista project. Sent Elijah wine, dinners, game tickets. Called 3 times last month just to touch base. Begged, basically. And Paige? She just burned every one of those bridges live in HD. Back in Chicago, Elijah didn't yell. He didn't rage. He opened his laptop, pulled up the master project file, and sent one email. Subject line: immediate reevaluation of community partnerships. That afternoon, Paige went live on Facebook, called me a potential threat to community safety, and warned the neighborhood about unapproved structures. Tagged the HOA board, the sheriff's office, and, no kidding, a local militia page. Her post got shared 400 times in less than an hour. But then something weird happened. People started pushing back. A neighbor down the road commented, "I've seen Harold trimming his hedges every Saturday for 20 years. He waves to everyone." Another wrote, "He helped me fix my porch swing last spring." And then someone new entered the comments under the name Horizon Architect. They asked, "Are you aware that this man owns the key parcel in the Horizon Vista development?" Paige, of course, dismissed it, called them a troll, said, "We don't make zoning decisions based on threats." Elijah saw all of it. The next day, my community got hit with the biggest wake-up call in its history. Horizon Vista announced it was pulling the project. The reason? Community misalignment with inclusive values. The investors from Singapore, Canada, Dubai, they bailed. $2 billion in foreign capital? Gone. And because the project had already invested in infrastructure upgrades, guess who had to pay that back? Yeah, the homeowners. Property taxes tripled overnight. Home values tanked. Contractors started pulling out. Ron Cranston lost his bid and then lost everything. His company? Bankrupt. Employees laid off before Christmas. And Paige? She still didn't get it. She doubled down, made a second video, called us all ungrateful, said the neighborhood was under siege by radicals with agendas. She even organized an emergency HOA meeting to pass new rules on rooftop access. That was the final straw. The night of the meeting, the whole town showed up. More people than I'd ever seen in that community center. Some angry, some ashamed, all of them ready to deal with the fallout. I didn't plan on speaking, but when Paige started ranting about preserving traditional values, I stood up. I told them about the day I moved in, how my hands bled fixing that dock, how I'd helped build 3 homes on this street and never asked for anything but peace. I told them that racism doesn't always come with slurs. Sometimes it shows up with a clipboard, a forced smile, and the nerve to throw your license on the ground. That's when Mrs. Hargrove, retired school principal, 73, stood up and said, "Paige, we've watched you chase out every minority family who moved here since 2010. The difference this time is his son has the power to fight back." Then Ron, Paige's husband, walked to the front, pale as a ghost. "I filed for divorce this morning," he said. "We lost everything because you couldn't let a man fix his own weather vane." The vote to remove Paige from every HOA position was unanimous. She was asked to step down, step away, and step out for the good of everyone. And that was that. 6 months later, Elijah launched the Monroe Initiative, an affordable housing and sustainable development plan built on values, not gate codes. The first project broke ground in another town, where diversity wasn't feared and dignity didn't require proof of address. And me? I'm still here, still fixing that weather vane every spring, still sipping coffee on the dock while the lake breathes easy around me. The brass eagle up top, still pointing north, always north. Funny thing is, Paige wanted to protect the character of this community. In the end, she did. She showed the world exactly what it looked like, and the world said no thank you. Now, if you've made it this far, I want you to do something. Drop a comment below. Tell me, do you think the community should have gotten another chance? Or did they get exactly what they deserved for letting someone like Paige lead them for so long? And if you've ever faced something like this, where respect was denied for all the wrong reasons, I want to hear your story. Because sometimes the loudest revenge isn't a shout. It's a silence so deep it echoes through every empty house that could have been a home. And that silence, it starts when the world finally stops looking away.